we'll just, yeah, we'll just do that. So let's start again. Or
Okay, so off you go.
yes, off we go. So hi Stuart.
Oh, hi, Hella.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome here. Um, I was thinking about this today's topic could be something around the animus possession
okay.
in women, because I see it so often. I see it in myself, in my daughter, in my clients, in my students, in my neighbors,
Yeah,
lots and
it's
lots of
there.
women here in Denmark and probably around the world, I'd say, has this thing going on. So I'd like you to enlighten us a bit about why, what is it, what can be done about it, and if we don't cast a light on it somehow, how does it influence our psyche?
Okay, well, it's this. Okay, just generally speaking, first of all, and then we can sort of move in towards it. Uh,
Yes.
Generally speaking, this is an area that we slowly become aware of as we study. So in the beginning position of everybody is ordinary consciousness, ordinary awareness. So people walking up and down the street have no real awareness of what the animus is. They may be familiar with a word and partially aware of its meaning, or somebody who has a lot of animus in them, they're aware of that, but they wouldn't be aware of the psychological dynamic.
Mm.
So to get to know it as a dynamic, we have to sort of speak the dynamic language,
Mm.
which is a psychological language. It's not an ordinary language of the world. It's a specific language which introduces us into the ways of the psyche, and that in itself is a continuous process as
Mm.
we learn the language of the psyche, which takes years.
Yeah.
So as a sort of parallel to that, that necessity, or that means that our awareness of the implications of this dynamic within us, men and women, also grows with our
Mm.
understanding of the general ways of the psyche. So that's the first thing I would say in relation to it. The animus itself is going to convince you that you're an expert on the animus,
Mm.
and there
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
But
exactly.
to become aware of that inflation
Yeah,
is not going to be possible until you know what inflation is
yeah,
and
yeah,
shadow dynamics are, and so on and so on and so on. So
yeah,
the understanding of the animus ties in with the understanding of lots of other areas
yeah, yeah.
uh,
Understand.
within the psyche. So generally, okay. So approaching this, the animus is on the inside. Whether you see it as a thing or a dynamic, this thing dynamic is on the inside. It points inward mainly.
Mm.
It's closer to the unconscious than it is to the world. Now, between it and the world, you have the ego and shadow dynamics, and you have the persona. So, world, persona, ego, shadow, and then these inner dynamics, animus. Jung would call them the countergender, if you like, but however. Uh, it is a woman's mind, the animus, the male principle, the masculine principle, logos. It is the mind. So as soon as a woman looks towards it, you could say it's the animus looking at the animus,
Mm.
and as such, the animus is looking into itself. It's looking into a deeper animus.
Yeah,
You see, so
yeah,
the animus
yeah.
has a root which is more animus.
Oh,
There's no end
seriously?
to it. It's like looking down a well. How
Yeah,
deep does the well go? Well,
yeah,
there's always going to be more animus,
yeah,
more mind, more ability, more potential, more thinking, more insight. And you could say the animus in itself is a bridge between the self the Godhead and the person.
Mm.
So it can occupy a place of the prophet
Yeah.
because it has direct access to the self, the knowledge, wisdom of the self. And really its proper place being on the inside is to support and deliver this insightful awareness from the self to the ego structure so that the person on the outside can, be effective and principled and, useful,
Yeah. Be
have a
at
meaningful
service.
life.
Service. Is that what you're saying? Be at service of the self somehow, so that the ego is not running loose like a dog off the leash.
Well, it is, I suppose, within a woman, it's how she uses her mind,
Yeah.
how her mind uses her. So in the cases of in the case of a beginner, and we're all in the position of being a beginner to some extent. It doesn't matter how long somebody's been studying, still a beginner. Um, I say to people, I have thoughts, or do thoughts have me? I have beliefs, or do the beliefs have me? The truth is, I'm constantly being organized by my inner processes. What goes on in my mind organizes me,
Oh,
and
sorry.
equally organizes my feelings and my perceptions. So mind in charge.
Yeah.
The animus is the guiding light. Okay, so in the case of an unconscious person, and again, we're all unconscious people. There's as soon as you say you're not, there's your unconscious.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so as an unconscious person, you know it my shadow, how I enter unconsciousness is through my shadow. The ego is standing tall on the ground, and then the shadow comes up from behind, if you like, and organizes me from within, and I enter unconsciousness, a state of unconsciousness. Now the animus has me because I'm not aware. I've lost awareness of my position. So working on the animus is to work on the animus, we've got to work on the shadow. If the ego remains in a state of conscious awareness of itself, if I am somewhat aware of myself and my actions and my doings, then the animus does not have the ability to jump over me as a woman, say, and enter the world. The dynamic is always going to be held in check through the ego's awareness of its own behavior.
Mm.
Do you see? Now, if I become unaware of my behavior or how I use my voice or my agenda or my will to power, then, how I get my needs met, then the animus is straight in because there's no zone of awareness between it and the world. Now, you could say the animus is a deeper element of the shadow.
Yeah.
And that would be not too far from the truth, but it's not the shadow. The shadow belongs to the ego, whereas
Mm.
the animus is an extension of the unconscious of the self. So just like you have the sun shooting solar flares out into the solar system, some of these flares go out beyond the earth and beyond, so those solar protuberances, is that what you call them? Those solar flares, that material that's been shot out into the universe from the sun, you could liken that to the animus. It is this brilliance. It has the potential for this brilliance. It carries within it a quality of the sun itself,
Yeah.
and yet it can also be a gorilla.
Yeah.
It can also be a beast, if depending on. So
Mm.
so shadow animus can be a very dangerous mix.
Yeah.
And generally, as somebody works on their shadow material, they're pulling themselves into awareness. They're starting to differentiate within their mind. They're starting to develop a quality of mind that's able to differentiate this from that. They're starting to gain insight as they work on the shadow into the depths of how we can fool ourselves, how we trick ourselves. There's this
Yeah.
sort of separation between our sense and our nonsense
Yeah.
just by working on the shadow. And then as that sort of quality of the animus emerges, starts to move through the mind into the world of the person, the differentiation brought from the ego, the ability to see, the ability to notice, is able to educate the animus, is able to sort of say, well, no, not that, this. And in that way, the animus starts to be educated by the animus. The
Yeah.
quality of mind educates a quality of mind into the
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
That
you
makes
see,
sense. Yeah.
it's working on itself,
Yeah.
but the front edge of the mind, the surface of the mind, is what we have access to.
Yeah.
So through
Yeah.
working on the surface of my mind, I can put a certain amount of manners on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see, I have ethics, I have morals, I have all these sort of qualities in
Yeah.
me.
It's almost like taming it somehow,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah.
So you outfox the fox.
Sorry?
You outfox the
Yeah.
fox
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
because
Exactly.
the fox
Yeah.
of the mind, the mind is intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always trying to find a way around things for us.
Yeah.
Now, animus as protector, where does the animus come from? Well, it protects its purpose is to protect the woman. Speaking about it in relation to the feminine, the animus, it's the woman's mind. It's the woman's spirit. Spirit has mind. Mind is spirit. It's the masculine quality, logos, the shine of the sun. Do you see? So
Yeah.
so the
Yeah.
ability to see things, our perception, our perceptible abilities, our ability to differentiate, between this and that, and taste and smell. All of these abilities are abilities of the animus.
Mm.
They're qualities of mind, so qualities of the animus.
Yeah.
And the animus has its agenda, because the animus is a, like, if you say, okay, what is the source of aliveness? Well, the source of aliveness is the self. Okay, so the shine of the sun belongs to the sun. It's
Yeah.
coming from the sun. Okay,
Mhm.
so that aliveness, it's first, as it enters into creation, its first level of creation is mind. So the sun creates the spirit.
Mm.
God creates the spirit. Okay, so the spirit is the animus in a
Yeah.
way, because the animus brings the word.
The masculine principle. Yeah.
Do you see? So so
Yeah.
so the shine of the sun is brought from the animus through the quality of mind. So its element would be air.
Yeah.
So it's very spacious. It can move very fast. It appears in dreams with wings.
Yeah.
Its
Okay.
symbols would be birds.
Ah.
Do you
Okay.
see? It's it,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
creature of the air.
Yeah.
It's an
Okay.
angel
Yeah. I didn't
coming
know that.
down to
Yeah.
earth, and
Ah.
as it descends and touches the earth, it brings life to the ego. It delivers aliveness into the body of the woman. It brings her to life. So the
Yeah.
woman has mind. She has spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Her heart starts to beat, with the rhythm of
Yeah.
her
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And yet the engine driving it all is the animus behind it. Now, like any mind, be it a chimpanzee's mind or a dog's mind or my mind, I begin with a grunt. I can't even speak my name, so I have to learn. So the animus, its main quality is that it's educatable. So the work of the woman is to educate her own mind,
Mm.
develop her mind. So as the mind is starting to be developed, you as a woman will realize that this mind that I'm educating has its own inherent intelligence within it. And because it is in itself alive, it lives before you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this mind is basically alive and it has a continuous history going back to when life began, mind began. You see,
Yeah.
inside there's no birth and death on the inside. So this animus has been in potential holding aliveness for the 2 million years.
Forever. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see, so it has its own mind, deeper mind
Yeah.
within it. So the animus has animus within it, within it,
Yeah.
all the way down to base rock. You see, so what we do is we educate the mind so that it acts on our behalf, not on its own agenda. Now, its own agenda is the will to power.
Mm.
So it will always protect the woman. That's how it emerges. Negative, you got negative animus and you got positive animus, like in any other archetype. There's a negative aspect and a positive aspect. So it comes, its first shaping, its first appearance will be within the family dynamic.
Mm.
You see, the young girl has to survive the family first. So the animus protects her in the family.
Yeah.
So the animus of the young girl will be modeled on the animus of the mother because it's the same animus. You take a cup of water out of the ocean, and I take a cup of water out of the ocean. It's the same ocean in both cups.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
Okay,
sense.
so the animus of the girl is modeled on the animus of the adult woman in the family, mother. And because adult woman is so much more powerful than young child, it will supplant, it will assume the characteristics of the little girl's animus will be similar to the characteristics in the mother's animus
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
one is so much more powerful than the other. So the little girl loses her own mind
Yeah.
and is possessed by the mind of the mother. She becomes an extension of mother.
Yeah. Wow.
She's living according to the same needs and wants of mother. And you could say psychologically, she becomes mother's daughter.
Yeah.
She is mother's daughter, but then mother at that stage doesn't belong to mother. Mother is an extension of mother's animus.
Animus. Yeah. Yeah.
So this I push my arm through. If you'd put a hole in a wall and you shoved your arm through the hole in the wall, and somehow a hole in the next wall, suddenly you'd see a hand and a wrist coming through into the next room.
Yeah.
So you got this
Oh.
extension through the person
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
next person
Yeah.
and then on out into the world.
Mm.
Now, there's the agenda of the animus to reach the world,
Yeah.
because once it's in the world, it can do what it wants.
Yeah.
It's like a dog off a lead.
Yeah.
It'll run wherever it runs. There's no controlling it. But if it's within the woman, well, then it can't reach the world. It has to support the woman, and the woman then steps into the world. You see, it's the woman's life, it's the woman's body, it's her life belongs to the woman,
Yeah.
but aliveness is coming through the animus.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's this relationship between the woman and her animus.
The animus. Yeah.
It's the relationship of life with aliveness.
Liveness. Yeah.
That's the relationship. And in a different language, you could say it's the relationship between the woman and her mind, what goes on in her mind, fantasy, imagination. Or you could say it's the relationship, a woman and her own spirit, her
Yeah.
spirit within. It's exactly the same,
Mm.
just using different words. So the will to power of the animus, when going back to the idea of family dynamics and all that, when father is ineffective within a family, when father is the pathetic or the wounded man, which is usually the case when you have a woman who is animus possessed.
Yeah.
You see, when you have that will to power in the woman,
Yeah.
and then father is the little boy, and mother is held in the grip of her own shadow, which is negative mother.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the woman has been possessed by negative mother. There's her neurosis, her shadow material.
Yeah.
And through
Yeah.
her unconscious position in relation to negative mother, the animus is able to rise up and move through both
Yeah.
into the world and becomes the power behind negative mother.
Yeah.
Negative mother has a will for more power, more control. Now, there's a difference between the negative mother complex and the animus possession, because the woman is in the grip of her complex. That's her shadow. She's in the grip of the complex. It You could say it's quite surface. It's an emotionally driven thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the animus possession possesses her. She's not in the grip of it. It is replacing her
Yeah.
as a living thing. It has its own aliveness.
So it is
So
living
the
her.
possession, the quality of possession is different than unconsciousness. We become unconscious in our complexes, but possession is a totally different level. Possession is, this is now a different being
Yeah. Yeah.
living.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
woman
Yeah. I
is
get absolutely
replaced.
get that. Yeah.
And because the woman herself is replaced, it means that her life withers and the animus grows.
Yeah.
It's like the life of the parasite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Parasite now is living in the place of the original being. So to the extent that a woman is possessed by her animus, she is literally replaced by her animus, the
Mm.
animus. And she becomes no more.
Yeah.
She is slowly eaten away,
Yeah.
replaced until she is gone. She becomes an empty husk.
Yeah.
Do you see? And then you got the word like animus hag.
And yeah. Yeah. And how to get her back?
And the recalling of the woman speaking her name, reminding her
Yeah.
of her own identity. In the beginning, you're talking to the animus.
Yeah.
So the way you deal with the animus is you educate the animus.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the process of recovering the original identity of the woman is a process of education of the animus. And then slowly, as the woman's face begins to reappear, psychologically
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah.
the self-worth, the sense of self, the image of self, the whole feeling of being a woman, encouraging the woman back into her own feminine ways,
Yeah.
complimenting the woman, drawing her forward all the time. The little girl aspect of the woman, the mature woman herself. As her name is spoken, she comes back.
Yeah.
It's like calling somebody's name. They're going to look around and see where their name has been called from.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah.
you call the name of the woman, as you literally speak her name,
Yeah.
you recall her back into the world, the aliveness of this world,
Mm.
and you educate the woman into the dynamic. And as such, you're educating the woman's mind into the dynamic. You're
Yeah.
beginning to outfox the fox.
Yeah.
You see, you're
Yeah.
going in underneath, you're going around the back in order
Yeah.
to get access into this possession, this
Yeah.
mental possession.
I
Uh,
think the word outfox the fox is it's very clever, isn't it? Because it has to be foxy. It has to,
it is,
it
yeah.
has to be like um I can't say I don't know the English word for it, but a fox can be very sneaky and very
Yeah, yeah.
clever and not confronting directly, not the animal's power towards power, but more like going into the backwards, and like in the fairy tales we see it in Hansel and Gretel, where
Mm.
the Gretel is the clever little girl,
Yeah, and that's
cheating
it.
the old
You see,
woman
and
and
it can
stuff.
be used for a very good purpose,
Yeah,
or it can be used in a very destructive way.
yeah,
So ambition,
yeah,
this will towards status.
yeah,
The woman, the woman who applies makeup meticulously every morning. What's that?
yeah,
The woman who has to paint her face and wear a mask. What's that?
yeah,
Do you see, that is not the woman. That is the woman's shadow, animus. Now gradually as the woman becomes less and the makeup becomes more,
yeah,
what's going on there?
yeah,
Do you see what you're
yeah,
looking at is an inferiority complex at work.
yeah,
What you're looking at is an unconsciousness between the woman and society,
mm,
the individual and society demand. So within society, as we stand within the collective, we stand it within an unconscious dynamic of the collective. So in separating from the collective, we're working on our own individual self,
yeah, yeah,
becoming an individual, we're individuating.
yeah,
And as we move away from the collective, we're raising our own individual consciousness,
mm,
reclaiming our own individuality. So,
yeah.
really, the woman who is in the process of individuation should be really, by right, be wearing less makeup. Getting
Yeah,
rid of the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
masks,
yeah, yeah,
not needing, oh, where's my mask before I go out in the morning so
yeah,
I can hide myself,
yeah,
so I can be good enough for everyone else.
yeah,
Do you see? So, all of this is all shadow behavior,
yeah,
and yet it's the playground of the animus.
yeah,
Now, once the animus comes in and gets a hold of the a taste of the world, it's not going to want to retreat for itself.
yeah,
So the woman has to seduce the animus. The woman has to become more appealing
yeah,
to the world. The relationship with the woman has to be more obvious than
mm,
the relationship with the world.
yeah,
So the relationship between the woman and her own heart is very important in order to break down the relationship between the woman and her mind.
mm,
One has to replace the other. So introduce the woman back to her own feelings, back to her own soul,
yeah,
her
yeah,
soulfulness within the world. The woman is the soul,
yeah,
so this heartfelt, the felt experience of being in her own heart and realizing that her heart speaks to her perhaps more honestly than her mind is capable of speaking.
yeah,
Her mind will speak to her with a tricksterish voice, whereas
yeah,
the heart will be honest.
mm, yeah, that
So
makes sense.
going down the road of heart and building on that is a way of bringing the animus back into its original position, which is occupying the space inside.
Mm,
And in that space, it becomes a tremendous advisor.
yeah,
It
yeah,
becomes what it was always meant to be, the voice.
support.
Just to see it serves its function as being the voice
Yeah,
inside the woman,
yeah,
and then allows the woman to speak her truth through her heart into the world. That is the correct hierarchy, if
yeah,
you like. Now,
yeah,
what happens is the woman loses touch with the voice,
yeah,
and the voice takes her over, and it's all of this, blah, 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 blah,
yeah. Loses touch with
coming
her
out with
heart,
no heart.
basically. Yeah, yeah,
To see now,
yeah,
in the case of a man, it's completely different because a man is occupying masculinity and femininity is in the background.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
his femininity, his anima, that is on the inside and masculinity on the outside.
yeah,
But it's an individualized masculinity. You know, I am myself. As a man, I am myself. So this individuality, this individuated masculinity already has a position. It's not multifaceted
yeah,
masculinity. It's not a collective form of masculinity. It's a one person at the front job, one
yeah,
person born into this life. And as such, it can be reasoned with. I can be reasoned with. you can speak to me, and I can change my opinion,
Yeah.
based on what I hear, what I see, what I sense. But in the case of the animus, it's a collective masculinity. So it doesn't matter what way you approach it from, it'll change its position. And
Yeah.
then another position and another
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
argument will jump from this to that,
Yeah.
to something else, to something else, to something else. Marie-Louise von France described it as walking into machine gun fire.
Yeah.
Having an argument with the animus is like being shot
Yeah.
at with a machine gun.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you deal with one bullet, you've been hit
Yeah.
with
You
another
just
10.
be hit. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That makes
So it's
sense.
a power dynamic happening.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by fog.
Yeah.
That's the animus. You're fighting fog
Yeah.
to see, well, where's the next blow going to come from?
Yeah.
So in that way, the male position is different. Now, when a man is unconscious, then he becomes possessed by his anima. Okay, masculinity is present within him, but it's not the same type of possession as with a woman. The man becomes possessed by his anima. So the unconscious man is probably the contrary man, or he's a man that is overcome with feelings, or he's
Yeah.
driven by his own
Yeah.
feelings. More than likely, he'll be submerged in his mother complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see,
Sucked
as
into the womb again. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yet, as such, the anima on the inside, which is a similar situation to the animus, in that it is the man's aliveness, but it's more his heart, it's his soul
Yeah.
on the inside, more so than in the case of the woman's soul is on the outside. So the anima being the man's soul, it carries meaning for him. It holds his meaning, his worth in the world. And if he doesn't have a good relationship with the anima, well, then he's going to be nothing.
Yeah.
And as he becomes older, he's going to become more contrary and driven by these negative feelings. And the anima is not going to respect him, and it's going to snipe at him and become. It's like the negative mother image, the witch.
Yeah.
He will be possessed by his witch on the
Yeah.
inside, which will be very much modeled on mother, negative mother, because the anima process of development is really growing away. It's his family dynamic again, growing away from mother into his own relationships. It's very much based within relationship and projection of mother out into the world. Um, and then he becomes, you could say, he takes on the qualities of the mother that he's projecting, because he's swallowed up by mother. His world is very much, he's stuck in the birth canal.
Yeah.
Never gets born. Like, it's very sad. But the negative animus, I was saying earlier on, the negative animus is modeled on the weak man and mother's feelings towards that weak man. So if you look at mother-father relationship and father is ineffective, well, then mother will probably become very angry with father, very disappointed. She will become judgmental over the wounded man, little
Yeah.
boy in her
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
She'll become resentful of having to have an extra child in the family.
Yeah.
The whole thing. He will be constantly trying to suckle on her breast,
Yeah.
and she will be saying, "Well, hang on, you're not my child.
Yeah.
Get away from me."
Yeah.
And the whole thing will be wrong from the ground up.
Yeah.
So it'll become very toxic, and the man's pathetic negative mother complex will draw the animus forward in the woman, and that animus will want to protect the woman, so it becomes angry, and then her shadow material towards her real life relationship with her partner that doesn't hold love,
Yeah. Oh,
holds
sorry.
disappointment.
Sorry about that. That's my phone. Sorry about that.
All of this builds, resulting in an attack from the negative animus on him.
Yeah.
So once that's the death of the relationship, obviously. But to be a child of that family, then the negative animus is already constellated within the mother. So mother's judgment, mother's power, mother's authority is a very bite. Mother's bite is in the family, not just towards husband, but towards children.
Yeah.
So negative mother devours the children in her own family,
Yeah.
causing the daughters to constellate and be possessed by mother's negative animus
Yeah.
as they move into their own adolescence and start to reclaim their own identity. Their emerging animus, their young animus that starts to come back during puberty and adolescence as they find their own individuality. Normally, that would be a push away from mother, but actually, it's the daughters grow into mother. They become the new version of mother,
Mm.
and their own life is lost because the negative animus is already constellated in them, and it has possessed them before they even got a chance to step into the world.
Wow.
So you see children with difficulties around adolescence,
Yeah.
and you're inclined to try and help the child if you like, but really it's a family problem where mother's feelings has been lived out through the children.
Mm.
And what you see happening in the child is really a fight for their own identity, their own mind, their own animus. And yet their animus is possessed by the Lord. They are possessed by mother's animus. It's like nearly they need to leave home
Yeah.
to get well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
We
get them
see
out of
that
that
often,
home.
don't we? Yeah, we see that often.
Yeah,
There's a tendency. I see that like growing bigger here in Denmark, with very young people get into psychiatry and getting diagnoses and stuff. So
yeah. That's
and they're
the
getting
opposite.
younger and younger, and the industry is filling them with medicine, and I think it's so sad. It's like I I often watched these mothers coming into therapy, pushing don't want to do the therapy on their own, but pushing their kids before them, saying fix this, do this, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So I wonder if these could live, survive without medicine and without getting into the psychiatry just a few more years until they can leave home. Will it all settle?
Yeah, well,
To
see,
just
you're
to
you're
get
you're
away
meeting.
from the grip of the mother.
See, what
Uh,
is psychiatry? There's a collective mind within society that applies certain areas of responsibility accordingly within society. So the medical people look after medicine, and the psychiatric people look after the mind, and medical doctors look after the physiological well-being of society, and priests look after the spirituality. And there's all this sort of passing the book,
yeah, it's like
take it off.
fragmented.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
governments do this. The government as the
yeah,
organizer, government as the main mind,
yeah,
organize lower mind, and
yeah,
pass responsibility around. And then people sit in underneath these umbrellas and trust that
yeah,
what they're being given, what's coming down the line is useful and good. But
yeah.
what's coming down the line is really designed first and foremost to keep you as a useful member in society.
Exactly, exactly. I
Society
totally.
looks after itself.
Yeah,
So it doesn't really cater for the development of an individual
yeah,
to be an individual,
yeah.
because
I
that's
agree.
somebody who's going to question society.
Yeah, yeah,
So as soon as you declare yourself an individual within any of these systems, societal systems, society is going to turn on you and
we have a
try and get you
problem
back
now.
in the
Yeah,
box.
yeah,
And there's a
exactly.
huge emphasis on just take the tablets.
Yeah, yeah,
Be a good member of society and take these tablets and
yeah.
believe
And
what we're
shut up.
telling you because we know
Yeah,
what's best.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, it's very difficult, and the tablets do a certain job. They do take away a lot of the pain, perhaps,
Yeah.
and provide a limited understanding of the condition that you feel you're suffering with, that you've been told you have, and so on. But Jung says, as we develop our spiritual relationship, as we develop our relationship with the self, all these various neurosi, they all fall away.
Exactly.
So as we become an individual, as we start to individuate and hold our own center, and take our nourishment away from society and give it to the the masculine, feminine within us, the God and the goddess within us, as we develop our own relationship within ourselves,
Yeah.
we you could say we cease to be a functioning member of society, and as such, we no longer have to carry society's shadow.
Yeah.
So I no longer need to be the sick one
Yeah.
within society.
Yeah, exactly.
I no longer need to hold that stigma for
Mm.
society to function effectively, so that there are good people and bad people, people who are healthy and people who are sick. And
Yeah.
oh, look, there's a poor, unfortunate homeless person. Hang
Yeah.
on, I'll give them a few kroner so that they can buy themselves a meal.
Yeah.
That sort of,
Absolutely.
I'm well and you're not,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think, disappears. But the whole, and going back to the animus thing, it as a power dynamic operating through our conscious or unconscious self, as we become more conscious within ourselves, as we integrate more and more of our shadow material, the animus has less authority. The authority is given more towards the conscious awareness within the ego.
Mm.
So you could say the pilot takes on the job of flying the plane,
Yeah.
rather than the
Yeah.
plane flying itself on autopilot.
With no pilot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So power dynamics,
Yeah.
power dynamics are rooted in unconscious self, but
Yeah.
power dynamics, you could say, strong power dynamics are rooted in the animus.
Yeah.
And when an individual is addressing the animus, it's like kneeling. It's like a king kneeling in front of an emperor. The animus will automatically assume the position of being the emperor.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Of
the
course.
therapist becomes the mere king.
Ah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
you have
That's
to be
another
able to
one.
outfox.
I would so much love to discuss with you the wounded healers at some point, Stuart. We can do that next time, for instance, because and the power, the power dynamic in the counseling in the therapy room. I think it's really important also
And
to
how we
shed some
approach it,
light on what in
and how we approach it,
exactly.
because it's the power dynamic itself is just unconsciousness, but it's
Yeah,
how we approach the unconscious that renders us effective or
yeah,
ineffective.
yeah,
So being able to recognize it, and having a certain strategy in how to deal
exactly.
with it in the client, because it's going to be different, presented differently from client to client to client,
Yeah, exactly. Oh
and
yes.
also therapist to client, because the client is going to drag up any of the bits inside of you as therapist that maybe you haven't looked at.
Yeah,
So it's always going to be a shadow dance.
yeah, yeah,
What goes, what's going on the far side of the room, under the
yeah,
table, type of thing. um
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's an interesting one.
It is an interesting one. Well, dear, I think let's end today's session, shall we?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
And thank you so much for being here, and see you next week.